Why so many modern conflicts trace back to the British Empire? Ukraine, Israel and Palestine, India and Pakistan, Sudan, Nigeria, Cyprus, Iraq, Sri Lanka, Malaysia. These are the headlines that dominate our news feeds. Wars, territorial disputes, religious conflict, ethnic violence, humanitarian crises. We're often told these are modern problems, driven by modern leaders, modern ideologies, and modern grievances. And in many ways, that's true. Every conflict has its own immediate causes. But here's the question this documentary series asks. Why do so many modern conflicts trace back to the British Empire? The British Empire was the largest in human history. At its height, it ruled nearly a quarter of the world's landmass, and almost a quarter of its population. Its influence reached every inhabited continent. When an empire of that size collapses, it doesn't simply disappear. It leaves behind borders, governments, legal systems, political institutions, and in many places, either created, reinforced, or struggled to resolve. Now, let me be absolutely clear. Britain did not create every modern conflict, nor is Britain solely responsible for the wars we see today. Former colonies have their own agency. Regional powers matter. Cold War politics mattered. Modern governments matter. Local decisions matter. This documentary is not about assigning collective guilt. It's about understanding history. Because if we don't understand where today's conflicts came from, we're far less likely to understand why they continue. Over the next 5 parts, we'll examine 10 regions where British imperial decisions regarding borders, governance, and divide and rule policies continue to influence events long after the empire itself disappeared. This is Part 1, Israel and Palestine. Few conflicts have shaped the modern world more than the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Today's headlines focus on rockets, terrorism, military operations, settlements, diplomacy, and ceasefires. But many of the political foundations of this conflict were laid during British rule. Before we continue, one important clarification. As we've explored in previous documentaries on this channel, the history of this land did not begin with Britain. The Jewish people have an ancient connection to this land, stretching back thousands of years. Palestinian Arabs have also developed deep historical roots here over many centuries. This documentary does not ask whose historical claim is stronger. Instead, we're asking a different question. How did British imperial policy shape the modern conflict? The story begins during the First World War in 1915 and 1916. Britain encouraged an Arab revolt against the Ottoman Empire. Arab leaders understood Britain's promises as support for future Arab independence. Then, in 1916, Britain and France secretly negotiated the Sykes-Picot Agreement, planning how much of the Ottoman Middle East to divide among the European powers after victory. 1 year later, everything became even more complicated. In 1917, British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour issued what became known as the Balfour Declaration. Britain expressed support for the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people, while also stating that the civil and religious rights of the existing non-Jewish communities should not be harmed. Different groups interpreted Britain's commitments in very different ways. Arab leaders believed Britain had supported their aspirations for independence. The Zionist movement believed Britain had endorsed the creation of a Jewish national home. Britain now faced an impossible balancing act. After the First World War, the League of Nations granted Britain the mandate for Palestine. Britain was expected to administer the territory and prepare it for self-government. Instead, it inherited one of the most politically complex regions in the world. Jewish immigration increased, especially during the 1930s. As Jews fled persecution in Europe, many Palestinian Arabs feared becoming a minority in their own homeland. Tensions continued to rise. Violence increased. Between 1936 and 1939, the Arab Revolt challenged British authority. Britain responded militarily, while repeatedly changing its policies in an unsuccessful attempt to satisfy both communities. By the end of the Second World War, Britain had largely lost control of the situation. Unable to reconcile the competing national movements, Britain referred the future of Palestine to the United Nations. In 1947, the United Nations proposed dividing the land into separate Jewish and Arab states. Jewish leaders accepted the proposal in principle. Most Arab leaders rejected it. When Britain withdrew in 1948, Israel declared independence. War erupted almost immediately. For Israelis, this marked the birth of their modern state. For Palestinians, it marked the Nakba, the catastrophe, when hundreds of thousands became refugees during the war. The consequences remain with us today. Questions over borders, refugees, Jerusalem, settlements, security, and mutual recognition all continue to shape one of the world's longest-running conflicts. Did Britain create this conflict? No. Its roots stretch back centuries. They involve religion, history, nationalism, identity, and decisions made by many different leaders over many generations. But Britain's wartime diplomacy, its mandate administration, and its inability to reconcile competing national movements profoundly shaped the conflict's modern form. Britain did not create the conflict out of nothing, but its policies became one of the major catalysts that transformed centuries-old historical claims into a modern political struggle whose consequences continue today. Next time, we'll examine another British partition, one that displaced around 14 million people, created one of the largest migrations in human history, and left behind two nuclear-armed neighbors still locked in dispute, India and Pakistan. If you enjoy documentaries that uncover the hidden historical roots of today's world, subscribe to Uncover the Truth and join us in Part 2.